The treacherous conditions on the Columbia are the very reason the Coast Guard trains here. And training is exactly what they were doing when crews received a mayday signal from this boat.
It was kind of fitting that there was a case at the end of the week in the circumstances and environment that we had trained.
Due to the dangerous conditions, the Coast Guard decided a boat rescue wouldn't be possible. So they sent Petty Officer 3rd Class Branch Walton, a rescue swimmer, to carry out the mission. But then this happened.
I kind of got thrown around a little bit by the wave, and then when I came up, I noticed that the boat was pretty much in shambles and kind of split in two.
Despite the rogue wave and capsized vessel, Walton reached the survivor.
As soon as I got up, I let the helicopter know that I was okay. Started looking around immediately, and it worked out perfectly.
After crews pulled the man to safety, he was taken to the hospital. The Coast Guard posted the videos and this picture. And from there, it didn't take long for people in the community to make the connection. The person rescued was the same man accused of putting a fish on the porch of the Goonies house 2 days earlier, Jericho Labani.
One of my buddies was like, dude, you will not believe what just happened. Like, check this out.
The new owner of the Goonies house, Bayman Zachary, isn't surprised when people stop by, but he was surprised to see this.
But he pulls out this gigantic, like, fish that obviously is not alive and just places it. And, you know, being from Kansas City, like, you got to wonder, you know, is the guy sending a message and I'm going to be sleeping with the fishes or something, you know?
Fast forward to Friday. Astoria Police Chief Stacy Kelly explained they were piecing all this together when they got a call from the Coast Guard.
Connections were being made that it was the same person and that he was at the hospital. And by the time we got involved, he'd been released from the hospital. What we've since found out is that he had taken the sandpiper from the West End Basin, which is at the port of Astoria.
Around 7:30 Friday night, officers arrested Labani at a warming shelter in Seaside on charges of theft, endangerment, and unauthorized use of a vehicle.
Briefed on that there was apparently 2 or 3 incidents in the previous administration as well.
Well, that's what they're saying now. But I think that the administration needs to come forward, because this is not an ability to say that this is a crisis that was handed to them. This is a crisis that has developed as a result of this president during his administration, allowing China to do a similar act before, not responding, and then clearly in this one not seeing the urgency of what was unfolding. I mean, the president allowed this to go across our most sensitive sites and wasn't even going to tell the American public. If you hadn't broken this story, the American public would not have even known. There was no attempt to notify Congress, no attempt to put together the Gang of Eight. I think this administration lacks urgency.
The Pentagon says that they were able to use some countermeasures that blocked or limited the ability of China to extract information from this balloon. Do you buy that?
No, and I mean, certainly you don't either. Here's the thing that's interesting. The administration says there was nothing for them to gain here. This was quite a risk by China, quite a calculation that they would take a balloon, put it up in China, take it across the United States where it's clearly going to be discoverable by us. They clearly had some information that they were trying to garner that they can't garner from space, or they did not have otherwise.
Have you? I mean, you're pretty familiar with this. What is it that they think they could have gotten from a balloon, or what can be done with a balloon that can't be done with a satellite?
Well, the key obviously is not just the balloon. The key is the payload that was attached to it, which you've reported is the size of 3 buses. That's obviously huge, and it was being commanded and controlled by mainland China and delivering data and information back to mainland China. Again, if you look at the path and you put X's where all of our sensitive missile defense and nuclear weapons facilities are, I believe that they were trying to gain information on how to defeat the command and control of our nuclear weapons systems and our missile defense systems. That's a crisis. That certainly should have had an urgency to the president and not just wait until this gets to the Atlantic to take it down.
Do you at all accept, I mean, it sounds like he did put the order in on Wednesday to shoot it down, and that it's the military that said, hey, it's not safe yet. Do you accept that?
Yeah, no, there's no excuses here. When this first occurred last time during this administration, remember, this is the 3rd year of this administration. They should have been preparing for this. They knew what this was. They know what the balloon is, what its capabilities, maneuverability is, from having observed previous actions by China. They should have been prepared. They seem not only to be unprepared, but to even be waiting. Where is the balloon going to go? What are they trying to do? That's not how you look at the actions of an adversary. China is a self-declared adversary. They are clearly expanding their military capabilities. They're tripling their nuclear weapons capabilities. They're fielding hypersonic weapons. Right. They're expanding in space. In this instance, this president should have taken this as an urgency, and so should have our military. This should have been taken down before it entered U.S. airspace when it was over Alaska.
Look, Ron DeSantis is there in Florida. This looks like it could be a dress rehearsal for the 2024 Republican primary for president. There may be a day when more Americans have to contend with his policy choices. What does DeSantis's war on education reveal about his vision for America?
Well, for somebody who talks so much about freedom and is all full of bluster, he seems to be pretty afraid, pretty threatened by free thought, by a child's right to, or high schoolers, college right to go to a book of their own free will and discover things about their own history, their own traditions. This is what authoritarian states do. They ban books, they remove books, they censor authors. And it's very concerning. Also, his anti-woke legislation has this individual freedom bill that is trying to say you shouldn't learn histories that might make you uncomfortable or guilty. And that's a pure whitewashing and trying to get to people to not have a moral conscience about the repressions past and present. And when you remove people's moral compass, it's very dangerous.
In a new column for the New York Times, Mara Gay writes, quote, "The question now is whether the majority of Americans in institutions like the College Board are able to see the backlash clearly not as some kind of culture war sideshow, but as the very lifeblood of the anti-democratic, sometimes violent political movement gaining currency in the United States. Black history is a direct threat to this movement. It humanizes the enslaved and their descendants. It opens the door for exactly the reckoning that makes interracial coalitions possible, giving life to democracy and pluralism and stripping would-be tyrants of their power." So how does whitewashing of history fit into the rise of authoritarianism that we're seeing across the world and even here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because here we have Putin putting up statues to Stalin, and every single dictator or wannabe dictator immediately tries to remodel history and ban certain parts that aren't going to fit with his agenda. But I would ask people to consider these educational, this educational censorship in a broader thing of what kind of vision of America is Ron DeSantis peddling. If you think about, he just he wants to approve constitutional carry to create more gun violence, and gun violence is the biggest killer of children. He's allied himself with anti-science positions, spreading disease. He appointed a conspiracy theorist at the head of Department of Health, and he's against climate change and interfering in businesses that are, promoting ESG. And so none of this is conducive to American prosperity, innovation, technology, all the things that have made America great.
We are back with a Fox News alert. More on our top story. U.S. Navy teams are sifting through a 7-mile-long field of debris after military forces shot down the Chinese spy balloon that hovered over the U.S. for days, maybe longer. South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry represents the district along the coast where crews are searching and joins us now. Congressman, thanks for being here. I saw you yesterday saying this was shot down right near your hometown. First of all, just lay out what happened for us, and why do you think it took so long?
Yeah, yesterday, it was, normal Saturday. Obviously, it was projected that the spy balloon would be near us, but no one really knew for sure. And so yesterday I was actually headed home, and on the way home, there was, you could see it at this point. People were pulled over on the side of the road. If you've ever seen the movie Independence Day, where people are coming out to their porches, they're pulling over their cars. It really reminded me of that. And, got home and was looking at this with my wife. And then, of course, it goes down. We're so accustomed in this town to pulling in visitors from really everywhere. We just didn't have Chinese spy balloons on that menu when we normally do that. And so, but here we are. That Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, was kind of the epicenter yesterday in world affairs.
Yeah, nobody had Chi-Com spy balloon on their bingo card. It's true. Why do you think they waited for this very specific spot in South Carolina as opposed to taking it down in Montana or Alaska?
Those are questions, Pete. Great. I mean, those are questions that I have. I mean, it sounds like intelligence officials knew about this balloon since Alaska, since it came through on our airspace in Alaska. And look, those are very wide open rural areas. So why let them continue their mission, telegraphing whatever information back home that they want to, putting Americans at risk? I mean, look, there was a missile that was fired over Myrtle Beach yesterday to take this balloon out. That's concerning on that front alone. But to wait that long, why? And what's shocking to me is that it wasn't until, the media actually picked up on this, I think, in Montana, that White House officials actually began addressing it. That's concerning. Look, China is one of our biggest adversaries. And to have them kind of fly a balloon from one corner of our country to the other is very concerning to me.
Yeah, and then we end up with missiles in Myrtle Beach, as you said so well. Real quick, recovery effort. What's your understanding of what's going on there?
Well, obviously, I think they're securing the perimeter to make sure that they can get into the waters. It sounds like it's much shallower than they originally thought. The county yesterday put out an advisory that if debris lands, to let them know, and that they'll coordinate a response with federal officials to get that. So could take a couple days to collect everything, obviously, but they're well on their way of doing so right now.
Representative Russell Fry, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. It is a good way of describing it, like Independence Day. Get out of your car, stare at the Chi-Com balloon, missiles over Myrtle Beach. Crazy. Thank you, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.